My name is Dr. Noah Getz, and I'm the jazz saxophone artist in residence at the Levine School of Music and a member of the Levine Jazz Quintet. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the blues. Jazz has been called America's unique contribution to music. Its influence is undeniable in the musical and artistic culture of the 20th century throughout the world. One might argue that one of the root elements of jazz, the blues, is even more pervasive in popular music. In fact, the blues can be found in nearly all styles of popular music, including jazz, rock and roll, country, R&B, funk, and the style of the blues. At heart of folk music, the blues grew out of work songs and spirituals that were sung by slaves that had brought their musical traditions from their African homeland. Today I'd like to talk to you about three concepts that are central to the blues: the blue note, the blues form, and the blues scale. One of the most characteristic elements of the blues is the blue note. This is a note that was used traditionally in work songs and spirituals and adds an authentic feel to the sound of you're playing the blues. The note itself is a quarter tone between the flatted third and the natural third in the home key of the piece that you're playing. This in-between tone is actually a scale tone in many African scales and is still used in musics of Northern Africa to this day. In the vocal tradition, it's very easy to sing this in-between note, and typically the note is, when sung, is resolved from this quarter tone up to the natural third. For instrumentalists, this poses more of a challenge, and so different instruments have figured out different ways of approaching this challenge. On the saxophone, it is possible to bend tone, and so oftentimes a saxophonist may play that blue note like this. The piano doesn't have access to quarter tones, and so it's more likely to do something like this. A great way to add interest to your blues is using this blue note. By moving from the quarter tone between that flatted third and the third up to the third, you can create a more authentic sounding solo. The blues scale is a hybrid scale that was created to emulate the sound of the blues. The base of the blues scale is the minor pentatonic. That is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and flat 7 in a given key. By adding the flatted fifth, you've created the blues scale, and that sounds like this. The blues scale is a great scale to use to punctuate particular parts of your solo, such as the climax, or perhaps the very end of your solo, something you really want to bring out to the audience. Some players can overuse this scale, however. It's a very distinctive sound that the scale creates, and therefore the audience can pick up on the fact that you are continually using this scale if it's played too long. For this reason, some soloists choose to focus more on the minor pentatonic and add the flatted fifth only occasionally. A great way to create an interesting and effective solo is to incorporate scale tones, chord tones, the blues scale, and the minor pentatonic in conjunction. The blues form, also called the 12-bar blues, is the basic harmonic structure of the music. Musicians use this form to improvise over and to create new melodies that then become new songs. The form itself has some potential variations depending on what style of music is being played. However, much of it remains virtually unchanged no matter what style is being performed. The primary motion of the blues moves from the one chord, in other words, the chord that is built on the first note of the scale, to the 4 chord. That is the chord that's built on the 4th note of the scale. In a basic blues, you have 4 measures of 1, the first 4 measures. Then in measures 5 and 6, you move to the 4 chord, returning back to the 1 chord. This remains unchanged for most styles of blues. However, sometimes in jazz, they make it a little more complex by adding a 4 chord in the 2nd measure, which foreshadows the upcoming 4 chords that you'll see in measures 5 and 6. One other element that remains the same in most blues is the 1 chord in the 2nd to last measure of the form. This allows for a strong conclusion to the form, and therefore you can either go back to the beginning, repeating your improvisation or continuing your song, or closing out and feeling resolved in a final way for the end of your piece. One of the elements that does change somewhat is the area, the 2 measures before this 2nd to last measure, and this is often called the turnaround. The turnaround that I have here right now is a turnaround that's used frequently in rock, sometimes in jazz, and in the style, the blues, and that is moving from the 5 chord to the 4 chord, directly to the 1 chord. In jazz, sometimes that is also changed, and instead, we'll move from the 2 chord to the 5 chord. That is C minor 7 to F7. By becoming comfortable with the chords in this form and memorizing the form in a variety of different keys, most importantly in the common keys of B flat, concert B flat, and concert F, you will become well equipped to improvise in a variety of different situations that incorporate the blues. By becoming comfortable with the 3 elements that we talked about today, the blue note, the blues form, and the blues scale, you can become a better improviser in a variety of different musical styles. To learn more, visit the Levine School's website at levineschool.org. Thank you.